What's happening, everybody? Kyle Steele, SEO expert, coming at you. 1 Minute Wednesday. Whoop, whoop. Deep tracks. That's right. We take the subject and we go a lot deeper on it. This usually comes out on Friday morning, something fresh for the weekend for you to think about on your business. This week, we talked about how big companies need to think small. Small companies are always told all the time to think big. And you know what? I know it's almost a universal truth that small companies don't need to be told to think big because they only have grandiose visions of their company. They're going to be the biggest, the best, the next Uber, whatever that might be. Some of them, that does hold true. For a lot of us, that does not. They're happy being a small to medium-sized business, but they have big visions. I remember somebody once told me the only reason why you have small companies is because they have small visions. I think there is some truth to that. What I want to talk about is how big companies are always chasing the dragon, right? That's a term that a lot of addicts use when they talk about their first time using a drug, taking a drink, taking a hit of a cigarette, a joint, whatever that might be. They're chasing the dragon. They're trying to get back to that feeling they first had before they had that addiction, right? They're chasing the dragon. And a lot of companies are chasing the dragon when it comes to how they were. They wax poetic how they were young, small, agile, nimble, quick. It was just us 10 people. We got in a room, did this, we had a couple beers, and boom, tomorrow we had our greatest idea ever. Now they're 800, 2,000, 20,000, 30,000, and they're so big they can't make those decisions because they say, that's a great idea. Let's run it by this person. Then all of a sudden you have a meeting, then you have a committee, then you have a committee that's formed. Because the best ideas usually come from the bottom up. So if you're an organization and you make those decisions top down like Apple did, Jobs didn't have to ask anybody. He just said, I'm doing it. That's a whole nother subject about how Apple has completely stopped innovating. But a lot of organizations, if you have from the bottom up those ideas, they're great ideas, but they usually get stuck here or here or here because you're too big. This manager stops it because they don't think it's a great idea. Or it goes above them and then all of a sudden this manager down below is bad because this person down here had the idea and they skipped a level. Who cares? Toyota has a plan. They're a huge company, but if they can make any change if they can make any change on the assembly line that saves them time, they do it immediately. No questions asked, they implement it. And then they go back and say, okay, did that work or did it not work? Right? Because you have to implement that change. And a lot of times the only way to figure out stuff is just doing it. I didn't know anything about a podcast, so I did one. I said on a Thursday, I want to make a podcast. On Monday, I was recording my first one. You know what? Pretty easy. You have YouTube. You have Google. Google's beautiful. YouTube's beautiful. You can learn anything. The point is this. Big companies should treat themselves as small companies and break up. And if you're a separate division, you're a completely separate division. You don't have to run it by the president, the CEO, the board, whatever that might be, because you just get paralyzed. And that's how you stop innovating completely. Or those changes come more slowly, so now by the time it's rolled out, the market's already passed you by. The market doesn't care if it's a small company or a big company. Look at Supreme. Look at what they're doing. Look at LaCroix, which it is LaCroix. It's not LaCroix. It's LaCroix. I'm from the Midwest. That's a company in Wisconsin. It's LaCroix. So if you hear anybody say LaCroix, no. It doesn't matter what size your company is. If the market loves your product, loves your idea, loves your service, they're going to respond accordingly. When you're a big company, you need to be agile, nimble, and quick, just like you were when you were young, because that's when you innovated, because you had to. A lot of big companies just throw money at the problem. Look at Sears right now. All they're doing is throwing money at the problem, and that's not solving anything. They're throwing all the money that they can to try to solve the issues. There's no reason why Sears shouldn't be Amazon. They were Amazon in the 1800s. Sears got its start on the railroad. That's what they did. They had the Sears and Roebuck catalog, and they were able to deliver things faster than anybody thought humanly possible, which was 1 to 2 weeks, but that was because of the railroad. Sears should be Amazon. Sears was Amazon, but they didn't have the vision. Amazon, little Amazon, for a lot of younger people out there, I remember when Bezos was just selling books in 97, 98. It was little Amazon, but they have big visions and they innovate. And you know what Amazon still does today? They innovate. They have an idea today, they implement it tomorrow. That's why Amazon's still successful. Apple, I can get on a rant about Apple because I truly don't feel like they have ever had a culture. They've just had a leader, right? Jobs came in the 80s and just rocked everything out. Then he left. Apple was on the brink of bankruptcy. He comes back, saves them. They innovate, innovate, innovate. Now what are they doing? Talking emojis. Wow, that's pretty mind-blowing. Said no one ever. The point is this. Stop acting like a big company. Stop asking for approval. Break yourself up like Saturn did, like QuickBooks or Intuit did. But the flip side of that is you might not have a lot of money to throw at the problem, so you've got to find a way. You got to find a way with your marketing dollars. You got to find a way with your services. You got to find a way with your resources to get stuff done like a small company, because you don't have that budget. Sometimes, like the poet Biggie Smalls said, mo money, mo problems. Because the more money you have, that's the cure for everything now is just money. Think about if you have no budget, what can you do? You can actually do a lot. The internet has changed everything, and that's all this thing is the internet. So if you're a big company, start thinking small, because that's going to be your ticket to success. And stop having all these committees, approvals, policies, procedures. Man, that is the way to just not inspire employees. The way to inspire employees is by saying, you know what, if you have a great idea, carte blanche, let's do it. One of the best leaders that I had always just said, you know what's the worst thing that can happen? Let's do it. And we implemented it. Some things worked, some things didn't, but we learned a lot. Till next week, I don't know what I'm going to talk about next week. You know what, I'm going to be wrapping up January. It's almost 50 degrees here in the heartland, the jewel of the Midwest, Des Moines, Iowa. We'll see what I have on the mind next week, but you know it's going to be good because it's 1 Minute Wednesday. Whoop, whoop. Deep Tracks. Kyle Steele, SEO expert. Have a great weekend, everybody.